The first light of dawn crept through the small window, casting a golden glow over the simple room. Birds chirped outside, welcoming a new day, but inside, an eerie silence filled the air. The mother, still half asleep, reached out to touch her daughter, expecting the warmth of her small body. Instead, her fingers met a chilling coldness that sent a jolt of fear through her. She sat up abruptly, her heart pounding. "My child," she whispered, shaking the girl gently. The girl did not stir. The mother's hands trembled as she touched the child's face. It was as cold as ice. Her breath caught in her throat as dread swallowed her whole. "Wake up, my child. Please," she cried, shaking her daughter harder. But the girl did not move. A desperate wail erupted from the mother's lips, piercing through the quiet morning. Her cries echoed outside, reaching the ears of the villagers. Within minutes, neighbors rushed to her home, their faces filled with worry. An elderly woman, one of the first to arrive, knelt beside the girl and touched her wrist, feeling for any sign of life. But there was none. The girl's body was lifeless, her small fingers curled slightly, her single eye closed forever. Gasps filled the room as realization set in. Some of the women clutched their chests, whispering prayers under their breath. Others wept openly. The mother rocked her daughter's body, sobbing uncontrollably. "She was fine last night. She held my hand. She spoke to me." Her voice cracked with grief. "How could this happen?" One of the men rushed to call the village healer, but when she arrived, she could only confirm what everyone already knew. "She is gone," the healer said softly, sorrow etched into her wrinkled face. The mother refused to accept it. "No. She is only sleeping. She must wake up." She shook the girl again and again, hoping for a miracle. But the child's body remained still. The villagers stood frozen, unable to comprehend the loss. This girl, the one-eyed child with the gift of sight, had saved so many lives. She had been a beacon of light to those who sought her wisdom. And now, that light had been extinguished. A deep sorrow spread through the crowd. "How could this happen?" someone whispered. "She was special. She was blessed. Why would the gods take her?" The mother let out another heart-wrenching cry. "No, no, no. Not my child. Please. Bring her back." But there was no answer. There was only silence. The villagers, overcome with grief, watched helplessly as the mother cradled her daughter's lifeless body. Some knelt beside her, placing comforting hands on her shoulders. Others wiped away their own tears. Unable to bear the sight of such sorrow, "She saved so many," an old man murmured. "Yet, we could not save her." The morning sun climbed higher in the sky, but the day felt darker than any before. The girl, who had once brought hope and wisdom to the village, was gone. And in her place, only pain remained. The morning air was thick with sorrow as the mother clutched her daughter's lifeless body. Her cries echoed through the village, bringing people running to her home. The news spread fast, and soon the small house was surrounded by neighbors who could not believe what had happened. The one-eyed girl, the child who had saved many lives, was gone. The villagers, who once whispered her name with awe and respect, now murmured in shock and despair. The mother rocked her daughter's body, her tears soaking into the child's hair. She refused to believe that this was the end. She had seen miracles happen because of her daughter, and now, she needed a miracle herself. Hope burned inside her like a desperate fire, refusing to be extinguished. She looked up at the gathered crowd, her voice trembling as she spoke. "Take me to the spiritual woman," she begged. "She will know what to do. She will bring my child back." The villagers exchanged hesitant glances. They, too, wanted to believe in a miracle, but death was final. No one had ever returned from it. Still, the girl's powers had been extraordinary. If anyone had a chance of escaping death, it was her. And if anyone could help, it was the old spiritual woman who lived at the edge of the village. A group of strong men stepped forward, carefully lifting the child's lifeless body. The mother walked beside them, her hand clutching her daughter's cold fingers. The villagers followed behind in silence, a procession of grief and hope. The path to the spiritual woman's hut was long, winding through the outskirts of the village, past the river where the girl had once played. Each step felt heavier than the last. As if the weight of despair pressed down on them, when they reached the old woman's hut, she was already waiting for them. Her wrinkled face was calm, but her eyes held deep sadness. She stepped forward, looking down at the child, then at the mother. "You have come seeking what is not meant to be," she said softly. "But I will listen. Tell me everything." The mother fell to her knees, holding her daughter's hand to her chest. "Please," she sobbed. "She is special. She is not meant to die like this. She saved so many lives. She had a purpose. You must bring her back. I beg you." The old woman placed a gentle hand on the mother's shoulder. She then knelt beside the child's body, touching the girl's forehead, feeling the energy that had once been so strong. The villagers held their breath, waiting for the old woman to say something, to tell them that there was hope, but instead, she let out a long sigh. "Her mission is complete," she whispered. "She was never meant to stay." The words were like a knife to the mother's heart. She shook her head violently, refusing to accept them. "No. No. She is meant to stay. She has so much more to do. Please, you must try." The old woman shook her head sadly. "Even the greatest souls cannot defy the will of the universe. She came with a gift, and she used it well. But her time was always meant to be short. You must let her go." The villagers wept, realizing that there was no hope left. The mother collapsed onto her daughter's body, her cries of grief filling the air. The one-eyed girl, the child of fate, was truly gone. The old woman stood and faced the villagers. "Honor her memory," she said. "She was a light in the darkness. Let her story be told for generations to come. But now, let her rest." With great sorrow, the villagers carried the girl's body back to the village. A deep sadness settled over them all, but they knew one thing for certain: though she was gone, her presence would never be forgotten. Her gift had changed lives, and her legacy would live on forever. The village fell into deep mourning. News of the girl's death spread from house to house, from farm to farm. People whispered in disbelief, their faces heavy with sorrow. How could someone so special, so gifted, be gone so soon? It felt as if a bright light had been extinguished, leaving darkness behind. Her mother sat beside her cold body, rocking back and forth. Her tears had long dried, replaced by an emptiness that words could not describe. She held her daughter's lifeless hand, stroking it gently, as if hoping to bring warmth back to it. But the girl did not stir, did not blink her large eye, did not speak. She was truly gone. Then, on the third day, a figure appeared at the doorway. It was the father. He had heard the news from a traveling merchant and had rushed back to the village, his heart pounding with fear and regret. He pushed past the murmuring crowd, his once proud posture now slumped. His clothes were dusty from the long journey, his face unshaven, his eyes filled with pain. When he saw his daughter lying still on the mat, he gasped. He fell to his knees beside her, his hands shaking. "My child," he whispered, his voice breaking. "Oh, my child." Tears streamed down his face as he touched her hair, remembering the day he had cast her out. The shame, the anger, the fear he had felt back then now seemed meaningless. He had abandoned her when she needed him most. And now, it was too late to make it right. "Forgive me," he sobbed, his voice echoing through the silent room. "Please, forgive me. I was blind, I was a fool. I should have loved you. I should have protected you." The villagers watched, some with pity, some with anger. Where was this father when the girl had brought them wisdom? Where was he when she had saved lives? Where was he when she had needed love? Her mother did not speak. She simply sat there, her gaze empty. What could she say to the man who had rejected their daughter, only to return when it was too late? The father wept until his body shook. He clung to her small hand, pressing it against his forehead. "I would give anything to bring you back," he whispered. Anything, but there was no answer. Only silence. The village elder stepped forward, placing a hand on the grieving man's shoulder. "She is at peace now," he said. "Her spirit is free." The father could only nod, though his heart felt heavier than stone. He had lost his chance to be a father to her in life. Now, he could only mourn her in death. The news of the girl's death spread throughout the village like wildfire. People whispered in hushed voices, their eyes filled with sorrow and regret. But no one felt the pain more than her brothers. For years, they had been kept away from their sister. Their father had forbidden them from visiting her, warning them that she was a shame to their family. As children, they had obeyed out of fear, not understanding the weight of their actions. But now, as young men, they realized the terrible mistake they had made. When they heard that she was gone, their hearts shattered. The guilt was unbearable. They had never spoken to her, never held her hand, never told her they loved her. And now, they would never have the chance. The youngest brother, barely a man, sobbed uncontrollably. The eldest, usually strong and proud, fell to his knees beside her lifeless body. "Sister," he choked out. "Forgive us. We should have protected you. We should have loved you," but no words could bring her back. No tears could undo the years of neglect. The one-eyed girl who had brought light to so many lives had left this world, and they had never truly known her. Their father, too broken with grief to stop them, allowed them to stay. They sat by her side, refusing to leave, their hearts weighed down by regret. The villagers watched in silence, their own sorrow deepened by the sight of the grieving brothers. For an entire month, the village fell into mourning. Laughter disappeared, and joy seemed to vanish with the girl's passing. People gathered daily at her mother's home, offering comfort and condolences. The air was thick with sorrow, and even the wind carried whispers of loss. The brothers could not find peace. Every night, they dreamed of their sister. In their dreams, she was alive, smiling at them with kindness they had never deserved. But when they reached out for her, she would fade away, leaving them alone with their remorse. They spent their days at her grave, speaking to the earth as if she could hear them. "We will never forget you," they promised. "We will spend the rest of our lives making up for what we did." The people of the village, though grieving, found a lesson in their pain. They saw how easily love could be lost, how quickly regret could take hold. Parents held their children tighter, siblings treated each other with more kindness. The one-eyed girl, even in death, had left behind a powerful message. Her mother, though her heart ached with grief, took comfort in the fact that her daughter was finally loved by the brothers who once ignored her. She knew it was too late, but at least now, they understood. And as she sat by her daughter's grave, she whispered a prayer, hoping her spirit would find peace. The one-eyed girl was gone, but the sorrow she left behind would never fade. And for her brothers, the weight of regret would be a burden they carried for the rest of their days. Jealous herbalists believed that with the girl gone, their fortunes would return. They thought that the villagers would once again seek their remedies and pay for their predictions. But fate had different plans. From the moment the girl took her last breath, a dark cloud seemed to settle over those who had plotted against her. The first to suffer was the eldest of the herbalists, a man known as Baba Oyai. He was the one who had brewed the deadly potion. The very night the girl passed away, he fell ill. His skin turned a sickly shade of grey, and his body burned with fever. No matter what herbs he took, no matter how many remedies he tried, his condition worsened. Within a week, he was too weak to stand, and before another week had passed, he was gone. The other herbalists whispered among themselves, uneasy but unwilling to believe that it was punishment for their actions. They continued their work, confident that their troubles would soon be over. But then, misfortune struck again. A woman named Ayarisi, another of the conspirators, suddenly lost her ability to see. One morning, she woke up screaming, clutching at her face. She could see nothing but darkness. Panic spread through the village. The same woman who had once created medicines for the sick was now helpless herself. When asked what had happened, she wept and confessed everything, how they had plotted against the one-eyed girl. How they had poisoned the wind. She begged for forgiveness, but it was too late. Her blindness remained, and she was left to wander the village, dependent on others for survival. The remaining herbalists grew frightened, but their fear was not enough to save them. Another, a man called Duro, began hearing whispers in the wind. At first, he thought it was just his imagination. But soon, the whispers grew louder, filling his ears no matter where he went. He could not eat, he could not sleep. The voices tormented him day and night. He became a shadow of himself, mumbling words that made no sense, until one evening, he simply walked into the forest and never returned. By now, the entire village understood what was happening. The conspirators had not just taken the life of an innocent child, they had destroyed someone who had been sent to help them. And now, they were facing the wrath of forces far beyond their understanding. The villagers whispered among themselves, praying that the spirits would not punish them as well. The last remaining herbalist, a woman called Mama Ife, was the most cunning of them all. She had convinced the others to go through with their plan, but she had never believed in the girl's powers. Now, she was terrified. She packed her belongings in the dead of night and fled the village, hoping to escape whatever curse had befallen her companions. But her fate was no different. Days after she disappeared, a traveler came to the village with strange news. A woman had been found lifeless on the side of the road, her face frozen in an expression of horror. The villagers did not need to hear more, they knew it was Mama Ife. One by one, those who had wished harm upon the girl had been destroyed. The village elders gathered and declared that no one should ever speak against the girl again. Her memory was sacred, and her death had been a lesson to all. From then on, whenever someone in the village spoke ill of another, they were reminded of what had happened to the herbalist. Beware, the elders would say, for the spirits do not forget. Though her body was gone, her memory lingered. Whenever tragedy loomed, the villagers would whisper, if only the girl were still here, she would have seen it coming. Her mother never recovered from the loss. She sat outside their small home, staring at the spot where her daughter once played. The house felt empty without the soft sound of the girl's footsteps or the quiet hum of her voice when she spoke her few, powerful words. At night, the mother would wake up, expecting to see the little figure beside her, but she was met only with silence and darkness. The village changed after the girl's passing. People spoke in hushed tones, fearful of unseen misfortunes. Many refused to make big decisions without seeking omens or spiritual guidance. The herbalist, who had plotted against her, found no peace. They suffered mysterious ailments, their businesses collapsed, and their names were cursed by the villagers who blamed them for the loss of the girl. Even the father, once proud and dismissive, could not escape his guilt. He aged rapidly, his once strong body now bent with regret. He would often sit by the river, speaking to the wind as though hoping his daughter would hear him. Her brothers, too, never forgot. They carried the weight of their rejection, knowing they had lost a sister they never truly embraced. The villagers built a small shrine in her memory. A simple carved stone stood where she once walked, and people often left small offerings, pieces of cloth, tiny beads, or bowls of food, as a tribute to the girl who had won them, saved them, and ultimately, was taken too soon. Years passed, and the village grew. Children who had never met the one-eyed girl heard stories of her wisdom and kindness. Mothers told their children, she was special. She saw things we could not. She was a gift we did not deserve. Though time moved forward, her presence never truly left. On some nights, when the wind whispered through the trees, villagers claimed to hear a small, distant voice, soft, gentle, and full of knowing. And they knew, even in death, she was still watching. Though her mother's heart remained heavy with loss, she was never alone. The villagers, grateful for her daughter's gifts, cared for her in her old age. They brought her food, ensured she had a warm place to sleep, and treated her with the kindness they had once shown her child. She would sit outside their small home, staring at the path where her daughter had once walked, whispering her name with longing. Some nights, she swore she could still hear her daughter's soft voice in the wind, telling her not to cry. The village elders often visited, reminding her of the legacy her daughter had left behind. The girl was gone, but her presence had never truly faded. The once shunned mother, who had been abandoned by her husband and mistreated by her own people, was now honored. The same villagers who had once doubted her daughter's powers now spoke of her with reverence. They believed that the one-eyed girl had been a gift to their village, a rare blessing that they had failed to protect. Even her brothers, now grown men, often sat by their mother's side, carrying the weight of their guilt. They had never truly known their sister, but they had loved her in the quiet way children do. Now, they wished they had been braver, had stood by her when she was alive. Their regret was an unspoken burden they would carry for the rest of their lives. Her father, too ashamed to remain in the village, had left long ago. Some said he wandered from town to town, unable to find peace. Others believed he had died in sorrow, unable to forgive himself for casting his daughter away. His name was rarely spoken, for his betrayal was not easily forgotten. The mother, though forever grieving, found comfort in the kindness of those around her. She spent her days sharing stories of her daughter, ensuring that no one would ever forget the girl who had once saved so many lives. And when the time came for her to leave this world, she did so peacefully, knowing she would soon be reunited with her child. The village never forgot the one-eyed girl. Her name was spoken for generations, and her warnings became legend. Parents told their children stories of the girl who saw what others could not, teaching them to listen to the voices of those who spoke with wisdom beyond their years. And so, her spirit lived on, forever woven into the fabric of the village she had once called home.